Okay, so number 20, 18 and 19 are quadratic regression questions. And so those we're going to use like real data. You're going to get an extra copy of that today. And so these are just kind of points. You would use the graphing calculator to figure out those. In order to do a standard form for a parabola that passes through the points, you actually have to use matrices if you're going to do it by hand. And we skip that portion because that is totally, sometimes not even a pre-calc topic because it's not used in calculus hardly at all. Ever, actually. But anyways, we got this. The golfer is on a hill, and it's 60 meters above the hole. The path can be modeled by this equation. All right. So it looks like we are accounting for that 60. And this gives us the vertical distance and the horizontal distance when we actually graph it. So what I did is I graphed it here. All right. And so what we have here is we have 60, we're 60 high, and then what happened is that I went and used, and you can pause right here if you want to check this out. Alright, we don't have to actually do this stuff right here. I did a little extra. We can see here that we use the vertex formula to actually find out that negative b over 2a equals 4 once we plug these values in, and we find that right there, okay, when he is standing up here, 4 meters, it has traveled 4 meters as soon as he gets to the highest. So how far has he traveled when you've reached the end? Well, 4 meters is the exact middle of his path. So this means that if I travel 4 meters here and 4 meters here, the total distance is actually 8 meters. All right. So he has traveled 8 meters. All right. All right, so 21. All right, 21 is another one. This is really, I would probably say, for our, if there's any practical use to quadratic functions immediately, it would be when you do modeling. And so we have a model here, and they want to determine the maximum profit here. The number of issues sold per month of a new magazine and its profit could be modeled by this function. Okay, so when we plug in, say a 1, we're talking in thousands of magazines, and then the output is going to be the profit. All right. Okay. Now we could divide everything by 2 and kind of shrink this down a little bit, but that's actually unnecessary because we're going straight to a formula here. Because if I want a max or a min, I want the vertex. All right. So the vertex is extremely important in real-world applications. All right, so I'm going to plug in my B. I plug in my A. I get double negative. Negative 36 divided by negative 12 is actually 3. Positive 3. If I got a negative number, something's wrong, because that means it would be negative 3,000. All right, and that's if you sold negative 3,000, that doesn't actually make sense. You would sell 0, right? You would have negative numbers there. Anyways, it looks like we sold 3,000. So that's our maximum profit. If you sold any more than that, it means it probably cost too much to make that. Okay, where the revenue and the cost to make it actually don't balance out. Okay, for whatever reason, it could be lots of reasons. So what we got to do is we got to figure out what the profit is by plugging that 3,000 back into the actual function. Okay, and so I don't have a calculator in front of me. That's negative 6 times 9 plus 36 times 3. That's 18. It's 108 plus 50. All right, so this right here, that's negative 54. And 50, that gives me negative 4, so that's a total of 104, and that is $104,000. So 104 is a pretty lousy profit, so hopefully that rang a bell in your head that doesn't seem right. To sell 3,000 magazines and only make $104, probably not worth the time, but this is the answer. Okay, how are we on time? We're at the 4-minute mark. Cool. All right, so we're going to go into the next section here. This is for factored form of a quadratic. And so we want to solve these guys, and this is very, very important. If you plan on moving forward in mathematics, factoring has to be automatic. It's an assumed skill that happens absolutely everywhere all the time. This is, use the X method. Negative 27 factors negative 6, that's going to be a negative 9 and a positive 3. So what this produces is the factored form, okay? It produces the factored form of that quadratic, and it also, move this up a little bit, allows us to solve it. This is not working. There. Allows us to solve this very quickly. All right, factored form is great for solutions. All right, so what does that mean? X equals positive 9 and negative 3. Those are the two values that if I plug them in there, they're going to give me 0. Okay, 23. All right, so 23 is x squared equals 7x minus 10. All right, now in order to solve and factor, these guys have to be dialed to 0. So we got to move everything either to the right or left, but we definitely need our a to equal a positive 1 if we're going to use the factor method, okay, the x method. So these guys have to move over to the other side of the equal sign, and when you move them over, they change their sign, okay? They change their sign. Now, when you also move them over, x squared is an unlike term to the other two, so these guys cannot combine. And so that forces us to use the, can't just get x by itself because there's two of them. One is squared and one is to the first power. So I need factors of 10 that add up to negative 7, and that would be a negative 5 and a negative 2. All right, so what this looks like here is, this is why I have to flip the sign. X has to equal a positive 5 and a positive 2. Okay, and if you go up here and actually do the math here, 7 times positive 5 would give you 35. 35 minus 10 is 25. Okay, and so 25 does equal 5 squared, so that's true. If I did it 2, 14 minus 10 is 4. 2 squared is 4. 4 equals 4. If you don't flip the sign here and produce a 0 using the zero product property, then you've got two completely different numbers. All right, moving forward, we'll do 24 and 25 in this video. We got 4x squared plus 4x equals 3. All right, now this one is still not dialed to 0, but I am actually going to have to use, I got to use the AC method, so I'm not looking for factors in negative 3. I'm looking for factors of these two multiplied together. If A, this guy, if A is not 1, then you have to actually multiply the A and the C. That's why we call it the AC method, okay, A times C. So I want factors of negative 12 that add up to 4, and that would be a 6 and a negative 2. All right, but my answer is not negative 6 and positive 2. What I have to do is I have to drop everything down. All right, I have to drop everything down. Now the 0 actually is can come down, but you can look at it. You can bring them back at the end. All right, remember we got to split these guys, and we got to find a common factor. I just brain just lapsed. Okay, so we got to put the negative 1 here because we do have to take out something. Even if it is 1, it's okay. But I need a 2x plus 3, so these guys have to be negative. They have to not be negative so that I get to this. Okay, now if you remember it, I have two terms here, and I can take out the 2x plus 3 and the 2x minus 1. Okay, those are my two parentheses, so just figure out what is going to give me 0 for both of them. Now in this case, x will actually be a negative 3, but I have the 2 there, so I have to divide by 2 so that they cancel out if I needed to plug it in. And then this guy would be a 1, a positive 1, but because the 2 is there, you'd have half. Okay, So if you ever have to use the AC method, one of your answers is going to be a fraction. I'll just kind of put that out there. Keep that as a heads up. All right. All right, 25. 25 is 5x squared minus 19x equals negative 12. Okay, so definitely going to use the AC method. All right, I'm going to have 5x squared minus 19x, 12. Negative 12 will go over to the other side for our plus 12 equals 0. Okay. All right, so now I need factors of 60 that add up to negative 19. And that would be negative 15 and negative 4. All right, that might take you a few more minutes. All right, but that's just something I could see because I've done this many times. I might have even done this problem many times. So anyways, drop everything, drop him, and then drop him. Then I split it in half, all right? Make sure you split it in front of the negative sign here. I'm looking for common factors. That's a 5x, so I can have an x and then a minus 3. I got to have an x minus 3 over here, or else this doesn't work. I'm going to have to use the quadratic formula. But it looks like I can take out a 4, so minus 4 for an x minus 3. Cool, got it. So now I have 5x minus 4 and x minus 3. It doesn't actually matter what order you have because your answer is here or there. So this guy's easy to figure out. He's a 3. Then this guy would be a 4, but because the 5 is there, I have to divide by 5 so that I can get the 4. Okay? So those are my two answers here. All right. So let's see. All right, we'll stop right there. We are at the 11-minute mark.